Well, this is going to be a little different format. I'm going to do it like a cooking show where you get all the ingredients sliced and diced and put in ramekins or little cups, and you add them to the recipe as you go along. So I'll tell you, this is the real estate agent follies. So we'll try and be softer and kinder and not call it fails, but just follies. So this actually starts a long while before the real estate agent comes on the scene. They're more in Act 2 or 3. Um, so this guy lives south of San Francisco in a small town. I guess he buys a ticket or enters or whatever, and he ends up winning the Ed McMahon Reader's Digest or Clearinghouse or whatever, and he gets $250 million prize money, quits his job, retires, whatever, and he goes to live in a small town in Western Oregon, and his wife's with him, and her brother, I think, lives in town somewhere, and he's got a reputation of being a drunk, but he's got a few drinking friends, so he's happy. And when the brother-in-law and sister show up and they're going to build this small cabin with this $250,000 and live peacefully ever after in retirement, with the snow falling outside and them sitting in front of the fireplace inside. Well, the brother and his drinking friends decide that they'll quote, quote, help the guy and his sister. So they make the plans a little bit bigger, and then they move it a little bit bigger, and pretty soon it's a two-story, not an A-frame, but a chalet. And it's got a daylight basement in the bottom, and they pay for a long driveway to get down to the house, and they've got to put in a deep water well, and they've got to put in a septic system, none of which these buddies of his and the brother-in-law know how to do. So they're spending his money pretty quickly, and they need a lot of tools to do all this stuff, so they have to buy, rent, whatever. And they've got a bunch of nice material they're building some cabinets out of, and every time they make a mistake cutting it, well, they just throw that sheet away and drag out another sheet, which were pretty expensive at the time. Probably a bargain by today's standards. So anyway, they spend a lot of this guy's money, and he's getting more and more frustrated and more agitated. And when I first saw the guy, he was sitting in a lawn chair on the unfinished floor in the middle of the room, and his wife was sitting there rubbing his shoulder. It's going to be okay, honey. Don't worry about it. So these three guys that have built the place have put the cabinets together mostly, and they've got them sitting on the living room floor. And there's a huge gap over to one side where the fireplace should go. And so that every spot in the house that had water plumbed to it was leaking when I first saw it. There was some questionable things on the electrical. I guess it had been inspected and the house was still standing, so they must have done a fairly decent job. Let me stop there for a minute.